This blade cuts into the ground. In a valley, we're at 3 to 4 feet average depth is where we're gonna put the tile.
Because you've got so many folks who don't know what this looks like when they're doing it. So today is the day that I get to talk about drain tile. What is it? Why do we do it? Does this affect our field in any way? Let's find out. Levi, why do people tile their fields? I've had farmers tell me that they literally have to rebuy the quarter at the expense of tiling, but why?
Okay. So when you saturate your roots, it slows down your plant growth, right?
Right.
And so you're not getting the yields that you would on a prime growing season. So what tile does is tries to give you the optimal growing season.
Yes.
Right? We're not taking the water that your plants need out, just the water that are going to slow down the growth.
Sure.
So in the valley, we see anywhere from 12 to 30% increase in yield.
Yep.
And farmers didn't even know they had that much of an issue.
Wasn't even
And all of a sudden, you know, we did some potato farms up north, and the guy had so many, he couldn't find enough trucks to haul his spuds or storage. Right? He's like, what the heck happened?
Right.
And it's kind of funny because, you know, you tile because I've got salty areas. Well, everybody drives by and says, oh, you still have a salty area 3 years later.
Yep.
Right? Well, you're not seeing the bushel impact or the tonnage impact in the case of potatoes, right, from the road.
Right.
You're staring at the so he kind of chuckles about that. It's like, but everybody's giving me a hard time about that salty spot, but they're not, you know, they're not looking in the shed.
And they have no idea how much that just increases top end yield.
Right. And eventually those salts will come down.
Right.
And if you really want to see some ugly ground, just go north and west of Grand Forks. I mean,
yes.
And I'm not trying to be rude to people, but it's just years and years of the groundwater coming up,
yes.
right? And flooding and receding, and it's leaving. People just don't understand how much salt is here.
Yeah, and then because again, we're on the bottom of a glacial lake bed.
Yeah.
That naturally lends itself to more salinity.
Right. Right.
Fair enough.
And so the yield impacts that it has, and we know farmers, right?
Right.
Anytime we make a buck, spending it in town somewhere, donating it to the school, buying the raffle ticket, right?
All of it.
And so that money gets churned. And so as a taxpayer or as a community person, I love when the farmers make money because we all do better in different businesses, right? If you're a car dealer, if you're a boat dealer, if you're selling clothes in town, right?
It keeps every aspect of your Main Street viable.
Absolutely. And so that's why people tile. It's about economics. It's in quite frankly, we are the best conservationists. I don't care what anybody says, because the people that say that farmers or the drainage guys are not conservationists have never seen the wetland banks that we built.
Right.
Have not seen what we can do to improve the ground around wetlands. Yep. Right? And so I'll stick up for them every single day, and I guarantee the next person that says, oh, you guys are doing all this bad stuff has never actually been to a farm with me within 300 miles of this place.
And that's why we do videos like this.
What you see on this chunk of tile is, we call it sock, right?
Okay.
So sock is for your lighter soils, sandier soils. We'll see it more when in the valley we're talking beach ridge.
Right.
Right. So a lot of people are like, beach ridge, where the heck are the beach? Right? Well, people forget that we're on the bottom of a 600-foot deep lake.
I live on the beach.
You live on the beach. You'd
yes.
probably see more of this around than most people.
Right.
And what that does is there's very, very narrow slots in there that let the water run through.
Any of
those
these
little sand particles will clog those. And what happens over time, the ground actually cures itself around that pipe.
Okay.
And this will biodegrade. And then if you ever dig this up, that will eventually disappear.
Okay, that was going to be my question, is if this is biodegradable.
Yep.
Over time.
Absolutely.
Do you know what it's made of? Is it like a corn plastic or anything like that?
That's a Prinsco question. We could. I probably should ask them that.
Okay, I was just curious what that might be.
And then this pipe itself is all recycled.
Okay.
So 98% of the pipe that we put into the ground is recycled plastic.
Sure.
So it gets ground up. So your heavier plastics like Tide bottles, all that stuff, get ground up in little particles. And then here in Fargo, they have a plant, and then they make. So the industry itself puts in about 660 million tons of recycled plastic in the ground every year.
Wow. Now, when we talk about drain tile,
Yep.
they think of a hard, like the old clay tiles.
Yep. Back in the day.
Okay, so when did that change, and why is that different?
50 years ago, 1970,
Okay.
Roger put his first plastic tile in the ground.
Was it recycled plastic then?
It's a good question.
Okay.
I doubt it, but you know, because it comes from oil.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, 50 years ago. So we actually have dug some up on when they build oil lines.
Yes.
We go in and do a lot of the drain tile repair. So
Right.
anytime they're bringing a pipeline across, we do the drain tile repair. And we've dug up, you know, this plastic from 1970 and looks the same today as it did back then.
Hasn't caused a problem.
If it sits in the sun for years, it'll break down.
Sure.
But under the ground,
It doesn't.
seems to.
Okay. The constant question I get from others who don't necessarily know a lot about ag, doesn't drain tile add to flooding in the Red River Valley in high river years?
That would be hard for me to believe.
Same. I mean, it's like you said, it's free water in the soil. You're just moving it.
Right. So number one, when our big flood years, you had a heavy fall rain.
Yes.
Right, and so your soil profile is saturated.
Yes.
Then you get a whole bunch of rain or snow on top, right, and then you get snow, and then you get spring rains, and that compounds. Well, it doesn't have anywhere to soak in.
Right.
Typically, when we see floods in the valley, your ground is still frozen, right? But when you thaw meat, when you're going to grill, right? Do you put it in a basin full of water, or do you set it out on your or on the counter and just let it sit there all day?
Right, and I'm probably on the counter, even though home economists would tell me not to.
Right.
Okay.
So I look at it like that, and we do have soil or moisture and temperature sensors on some fields, and you can see a straight line between tiled and non-tiled fields about how fast the ground warms up in the spring. And so if you have a tiled field, your ground is warming up faster, and now you're starting to soak in over the winter.
Sure.
Right.
When you look at doing tiling in the area, it's not just fields, right? You're doing other projects too. But I don't know that the general public realizes how much tiling gets done across the valley, even out of a field.
Well, right. And so, you know, to your point about flooding, less than 10% of the entire valley is tiled.
Oh, that's a great number.
Right?
I mean, that really puts it in perspective.
We will be long gone before the valley is ever completely tiled.
Yeah, so it's such a minor amount.
Yeah, it is such a minor amount. So when you talk about flooding, are you causing flooding? Well, no way.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If your kid is 10% of the family problem, he's not the problem, right? Right?
Right.
So, or if he's 10% of the family solution, that's not going to solution the problem, right? So that's just it's an excuse because people see the tile outlet and they see the water running, they gasp.
Right.
But the amount of water, it's 27,000 gallons of water on 1 inch per football field, right? An acre is a football field. 1 inch, right?
Right.
These spring floods, I mean, you're seeing
feet.
A couple feet across hundreds or thousands of acres. Drain tile is not going to cause that problem.
Nope, that's not going to be the issue.
So back to the things that we do. You know, we do rural water lines. Right. We do tile. We tile farmyards.
Sure.
Very rarely will we go tile somebody's house. Got to be a friend of the family sort of thing. But
this is kind of a lot.
That's a lot
to come into the yard.
We do have little smaller machines. They're kind of cute little things. We'll try not to run over them, you know. But so there's a lot of stuff that gets done.
thank you to Levi Otis and Ellingson Drainage for not only being a Here We Grow sponsor, but letting us spend the day with them to learn more about drainage and some of the other projects that they do. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments for us and don't forget to subscribe because you're going to enjoy how Here We Grow.